You've had 9 months, okay? It's time for you to get to work.
First time in a long time. Hurting deeply inside.
Hi babes, welcome back to my channel. I'm Chelsea. If you're new here, today I'm going to be giving you tips on how you're going to change your life within the next 90 days. As you know, we are coming to a close on this year. It is October currently. So whether you're watching this video in November, even if you're watching this video in December or anytime after that, you're right on time. You can always start now. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to go ahead and take action on everything that we said that we were going to do. Today, we're going to be talking about how we're going to make those changes and actually shift into the person that we have always desired to become. The thing is, with this 90-day change, I'm taking the same advice that I'm giving you guys, okay? It's time to lock in. It's time to stay focused. It's time to refocus, and it's time to get disciplined on everything that you said that you were going to do. Listen, sis, you've had 9 months, okay? It's time for you to get to work. This video is going to be straightforward and very straight to the point. Sometimes we do need to hear those things. Instead of all of the fluff, we're going to get straight into it. When it comes to reinventing yourself and really trying to accomplish this goal within a certain amount of time, you have to believe in yourself, okay? You have to believe in yourself. You have to know that you can do it, and that's something that I'm currently working on. There are times where we get in our head and we doubt so much about what we can do and what we can't do. Being that we have less than 90 days, okay, it's time to get rid of the doubt, okay? We're not gonna do the self-doubt talk. We're not even going to engage in those type of conversations with ourselves or anybody else. If somebody else is talking about how they don't believe in themselves, like, either we're gonna reroute that thought or we're gonna just dismiss it. I want us to make sure that we are redirecting our thoughts into something positive, into that what if it all does work out idea versus like what if it doesn't. Where does that get you? Every time you doubt yourself, I'm actually talking to me when I say this, like, where does that get you? When you think about all the what ifs that could happen that are not in your favor, why would you think about unfavorable things when it comes to your desires and your goals? Ask yourself that. There's no room for doubt. When you're trying to make some accomplishments or trying to reach a certain goal within a certain time frame, there is no room for doubt. We're gonna leave the doubt. We're gonna step into our faith of a mustard seed era. Or if you haven't seen a mustard seed, it's literally the size of like a little dot, okay? That's all you need, okay? You need that in delusion, and you will get exactly where you need to be. That's something that I'm definitely gonna be putting in the forefront of my mind when it comes to accomplishing my goals. I'm gonna be going into like this winter art challenge. I've been seeing it has been like trending on TikTok. I had wanted to do this myself and just lock in as much as possible and see how far I can get to be the most unrecognizable version of myself that I've ever been. So I'm gonna be 30 soon, so I wanna make sure that I am stepping into 30 exactly how I want to step into it. Everything that you have right now came from a thought that you had, and you always have to remember that, especially when we find ourselves in places and spaces that we don't belong in, or if you feel like you should be at a different point in your life. The things that you have right now came from that thought that you had. We want to make sure that our thoughts are aligned with our future version of ourselves, the person that you wanted to get to. Ask yourself every time you have a doubt that you can't do it. We don't have those doubts anymore, right? Yeah, that's what I thought. We don't have those doubts. But if you happen to let it cross your mind, always ask yourself, would my future self think this way? And more than likely, the answer would be no. When it comes to reinventing ourselves within the next 90 days, we're gonna act as if everything is going to work out. We're not even gonna act like this could happen or it couldn't happen this way. No, you want to operate like every single thing that you touch, every single thought that you have is going to come to fruition. If you want those negative thoughts to come true, then keep thinking how you're thinking, because it's going to come true. Really just that simple, and sometimes we make things overly complicated. We are not going to doubt ourselves anymore, okay? We're gonna step into our delusion. Speaking of being delusional, you want to be as delusional as possible. Think about the craziest thing that can happen after this 90 days. Think about the biggest opportunity that you could attract after this 90-day shift. Think about the opportunities that you will have after the 90-day shift. Think about how you are going to feel. Be as delusional as possible. I mean, envision some crazy stuff. Like some stuff that you probably didn't even imagine was going to come to you in that amount of time. Because when you shift your energy, you attract certain things into your life. So you want to make sure that you're operating as if everything is always working out for you. And that's something that I'm definitely tapping into. Everything always works out for me. Even if the odds are stacked against you. Remember, everything is always working out for you. Whether or not, even if you don't don't get an opportunity, or even if you get those no's, remember, it is all working out for me. So regardless, if you get a no, guess what? It's bigger behind that no. We're gonna keep that in mind. If you want to reach a certain level or a different level in your life, it's going to take a different mindset. You can't carry the same habits and thought processes that you had the last 9 months into this next 3 months, especially if you want to reach a different level. That's not me saying like beat up on yourself or talk down to yourself, but sometimes we do need that tough love. Okay, sometimes you do need to tell yourself like, hey girl, you need to tighten up a little bit. We're gonna make these goals happen, but the only way that we're gonna do that is if we shift how we think. In the first way, we're gonna believe in ourselves. In the second way, we're gonna start being delusional, okay? Stop telling yourself that you can't do something and start telling yourself that you can do anything that you put your mind to. Speaking of being delusional, we're gonna eliminate that self-doubt. That kind of flows into the last 2 topics that I talked about. We want to make sure that we are not doubting ourselves. And if you have people around you that are doubting you or saying, I don't know, girl, like, I don't know if you could do that, or I don't know. No. Okay, immediately no. Leave them, stop talking to them, stop oversharing your ideas and thoughts, especially if somebody is talking against how you feel about something that you know that you can do and accomplish. Stop feeding into it, okay? Even if it's a situation where you can't actually physically relocate yourself or distance yourself, just stop sharing. That may be something that you may have to do within the next 90 days. It may cause for a little separation, it may cause for a little more distance, but it's only to better yourself, because at the end of the day, I always tell myself, nobody is coming to save you, okay? I don't care if you have the strongest support system. Yes, sometimes people can help, you know, bring out the best in you or bring out a better mood for you, or help you come out of that like moodiness or whatever the case may be. But the thing is, nobody is coming to save you but you. So remember that every time you feel like you are shifting into those moments, try listening to a podcast that's going to help you reshift and rethink things. For me personally, whenever I'm having those moments of doubt, I always listen to like maybe Joe Dispenza, somebody who's going to help me shift the way I'm thinking, because sometimes all it takes is that. Sometimes we are literally in our head so much that we need to hear something from the outside. You may need to start listening to a podcast in the middle of that feeling to break it, because every time I listen to something like that, it always helps me bring it back down and just remember like, girl, everything's okay. Everything is okay. It's all right. You're going to get through it. You know, so always try to do things that are going to help you break those cycles, because the thing is, when you're trying to create new habits for yourself, you have to figure out what is going to work, okay? You have to figure out what is going to work, and then you also have to figure out how to stop the habit, because the thing is, you've been doing, when I say you, I mean me as well, you've been doing the same things for the past 9 months, and if it hasn't gotten you to the point that you want to be at, that means that the cycle needs to stop at some point. We need to shift, we need to pivot, we need to do something different, but there has to be a change in order to see a different result. Also, when it comes to us shifting and reinventing ourselves within the next 90 days, you're gonna also have to learn to reassess what's happening and make a shift, okay? Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. So say for instance, if you've been doing, you know, X, Y, and Z. Say if you've been doing only cardio in the gym and you notice like, hey, cardio isn't working for me as much as it used to. Maybe you have to do some strength training. Maybe you have to do some yoga. Maybe you have to go do some Pilates, okay? But you have to know that you have to make a shift if something is not working. So with that being said, we're gonna start doing check-ins with ourselves, whether that's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis. If within the week is too much for you, maybe check in with yourself once a month. Ask yourself what is working and what is not. And if there is something that isn't working in your favor, you need to make a shift so that you won't waste time. Because again, not to say you have to get everything done within this 90-day period, but if you want to keep the momentum going and you know that you've been doing well in certain areas, but it's just this one particular thing that may not be flowing as good as you would like it to be, you have to make a shift. During this time, it's going to be very important for you to learn to reassess what is working and what is not. And if it's not working, pivot, okay? Pivot immediately. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait. Don't say, oh, okay, I'm gonna keep trying on this one thing, especially if you see all the signs that, hey, this is not really working out for me. You need to make a shift and figure out what else could replace that, or what else could, you know, work a little bit better. This 90-day period of really locking in with yourself, you really can call this like a 90-day hard, like a 75 hard challenge, but for 90 days. You are going to have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Whether it's you changing up your eating patterns, whether it's you waking up earlier, forward, whether it's you actually keeping the promises that you made to yourself, you're going to have to be a little bit uncomfortable. When you get uncomfortable, it allows for other things to grow and manifest. Honestly, it always works out in the end. Lean into that. Don't shy away from it. I know at first when you're trying new things or getting up earlier, say if you wake up at 6, but you want to start waking up at 5, you know, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for, you know, the first couple days or the first couple weeks. But, you know, every 21 days, you create a habit. So if you constantly do that, or if you constantly show up for yourself, and also find ways to reward yourself for showing up. I've talked about this in my previous videos. Making sure that you give yourself like a little reward every time you actually show up is also important too, because you're telling yourself like, hey, you did this and you actually deserve this, you know, because you've been showing up in this way. Find out how to make it enjoyable, because it's not supposed to be like, you know, a super and strenuous routine that you're creating for yourself. If you're not having fun, or if you're not enjoying making these changes and shifts in your life, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult. You're going to be tired of getting up. You're going to be tired of, you know, showing up in those ways. So you have to make it enjoyable for you as well. So don't be super strenuous or don't be super strict, you know, in regards to like, oh, if I don't do this, then the whole day is messed up. No, okay, show up better tomorrow. You have to be consistent, and you actually have to be disciplined when you're trying to make these changes. So like I mentioned before, it's time for you to lock in. In order to actually complete the 90-day challenge and really focus in and reinvent yourself within these next 3 months, you are going to have to be relentless, okay? You're gonna have to be relentless. You're gonna have to be committed. There's gonna be times where, you know, people are gonna be inviting you out. You're gonna have to say no, you know, especially if you know you have to get up early the next morning. You're gonna have to say no. It's gonna be a lot of no's. It's gonna be a lot of times where you're just gonna be, you know, with you, and that is okay. It is so important for you to commit and be relentless along this journey, because it's gonna take that. Rewarding yourself along the way, it's also gonna be important so that you can continue to sustain that momentum. Speaking of momentum, when you see that you're doing good, keep it going. That is my biggest challenge. When I see I'm doing good at something, sometimes, girl, I don't know why I be getting in my head and I be slowing down. Sometimes I slow down a little bit, and then the momentum, you have to pick it back up again. Instead of like a smooth flow, you're stopping and going. But this go around, we're gonna continue to keep going, okay? We're gonna be relentless the next 90 days. Hopefully you start this challenge today. But if you don't start it today, start when you start, but just know in your head, in your mind, that you're gonna be committed, just like an athlete is committed to working out and making sure that they show up so that they can perform their best. That's what you're gonna have to do, okay? You're gonna have to lock in, and you're just gonna have to be as focused as you've ever been, and just imagine how good life is going to get after you do that. If you don't know your why, it is gonna be hard for you to reach your goal or even do this in 90 days, or even dedicate yourself to this for the next 90 days. Figure out why you want to make these changes and how it could benefit you. Once you have that answer, write it down and actually follow through on that. Once you have that answer, write it down so that you can always keep it in your mind, because you're gonna have those days where you don't feel like showing up. You're gonna have those days where you really are not feeling it. If you know that you want to make these changes so that you can be a better parent, if you are a parent, say for instance, if you want to show up better at your job so that you can get that promotion, you know, you have to show up and you have to do this for the next 90 days. That is going to help you be even more determined, especially when you have those dark days or those days where you just are not feeling it. If you do have someone to do this with, I feel like it could be really beneficial, because you guys can keep each other going, especially when one person may be having like a not so good day. Then you can remind them like, hey, this is why you said that you were going to do this to begin with, and we have to keep going. For me, some of my whys are going to be reminding myself, am I tired of the cycles that continue to keep going because of me? You know, ask yourself those questions. You have to ask yourself those hard questions. That way you can show up as the person that you desire to be. If you are tired of getting the same results, that's going to be your motivation in itself to help you to keep going. You know, like if you're tired of seeing the same results in something, you're going to do something about it. You're going to make a change. If you don't make that change, you're going to be in the same position next year. It's going to be January 1st and you're like, oh, I'm going to start a New Year's resolution, or I'm going to do this for the new year. Like, no, you need to start now so that you can start implementing those changes so that you can show up as your best self. It's going to be even harder for you if you have not even started. So that's really the main reason why I want to get started now, is so that by January, the new year is rolling around, I'm already in the flow of things, you know, and I'm already in that momentum, so I can just continue to keep it going versus like starting from scratch and having to start completely over. Try your best to show up. Nobody is going to change your life. You have to be the one that's going to take control of your own life, and this is your story. You can rewrite it as many times as you need to. You can refocus as many times as you need to or want to. You can do anything that you want to do. You can change your story at any point in time, and that's something that I am keeping at the top of of my mind is that anything can change for me, for the good, for the better, because that's all that I let enter my mind. It's only the things that are good for me and the things that are going to be beneficial. Also with this journey, I feel like it would be very helpful for you to just keep in mind of your younger self. If you know that your younger self will be so proud of you for like sticking to it and actually being disciplined and actually focusing and actually showing up and keeping those promises that you made, just imagine like how happy your younger self would be and how proud of you they would be. They deserve your dream life, okay? So always keep that in the front of your mind along this journey, because it's definitely going to be a journey, but we got it, girl. Last but not least, when it comes to refocusing yourself and refocusing your mind for the next 90 days, imagine how good you're going to feel when you hit that mark, when you hit that goal, when you lose that weight, when you show up for yourself, when you get that new promotion, when you get that pay increase, when you make, you know, X, Y, and Z in your business that you wanted to make. Always remember how that is going to feel when you accomplish that goal. It's going to take discipline, it's going to take faith, it's going to take heart, it's going to take tears. You know, it may be all of those things, or it may just be a smooth transition and journey for you, which I hope that it will be. But always keep in mind, like, how is it going to feel when you actually did what you said that you were going to do? Hold on to that, and just thinking about it, it just makes me happy. Me thinking about how it's going to feel when I reach my goal is going to feel so amazing. It's gonna make me feel emotional. I'm gonna be so proud of me and so happy. I want to level up in all areas, spiritually, financially, emotionally, my body wise. Like, I just want to be the best version of myself, and I am holding on to that idea of how is this gonna feel when I reach that goal, and that is going to be the driving force for me within this 90-day period. So I hope you guys take the time to really refocus and reanalyze what it is that you truly want out of this life, because you only get one. I hope that this journey or this thing called life really shows you how good it can get, okay? And if you change your mindset, if you change how you think about things, if you change the way you handle situations, if you actually show up for yourself, imagine how good life is going to get for you. And hold on to that thought over the next 90 days, and I promise you, you will accomplish everything that you set out to do. You will feel so accomplished stepping into 2025. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to share, don't forget to like, and also meet me in the comments, because I love talking to you guys in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye.